Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how to make a very inexpensive and very effective third hand. Now that's something that you'll use whenever you solder. And a soldering iron does a great job at holding two wires together, but you do want to keep in mind that you have to hold the soldering iron in one hand, you need to hold the solder in the other hand, and that leaves no hands free to actually hold the wires. So that's where the third hand or helping hands would come into play. They have small clamps, whether that's an alligator clamp or a permanent style. It's going to hold those wires in place, and it will do a great job at holding everything as you solder it. Now, a lot of these are limited in the fact that they only have two different clamps, meaning you can only hold two wires together and then solder them if you have multiple wires that you're trying to solder. Or let's say you have a circuit board as well as wires going into that. These just are not effective because they don't have the capacity. The one that I'm going to show you how to make actually will have a total of 4 different arms. They're going to be very long. You can position them really wherever you want them, and they can hold up to 4 things at once. Now the good thing about this is the fact that by building it yourself, you're going to save a lot of money versus buying one of these commercially, because one with 4 arms typically costs roughly $50. The parts that we're going to use cost $10 or less, and really in about 10 or 15 minutes you can easily build one in your workshop or your garage. A common style of a third hand looks like this, with a small metal base, a magnifying glass on the top, as well as 2 different alligator clips. Now this will do a good job at holding 2 wires in place as you solder them. However, it does have its limitations because it's really limited to work on a flat surface like this workbench. And it doesn't have a lot of room to move around if you're at any sort of an angle, or let's say you're in a vehicle, because that base would tip over on you. In addition to that, it only has 2 different alligator clips, meaning you can only hold 2 different wires at once because you need your other hands free in order to solder. So while many people will pick these up, and they are good to have around the shop, it's not a good solution in all situations. And if you're doing anything more than 1 wire at a time, it really does not work. Another version will look like this. It has a magnetic base, a flexible arm, and then it can also hold 2 different wires with these spring-loaded clamps. Now I did a full review on this. It's called the AST wire holder. It's going to stick right to any magnetic surface. However, it will not stick to, let's say, a wooden surface, so it wouldn't work unless you are near metal. When you are near metal, it's going to stick right in place. You can bend the arm around. So let's say you're underneath of a dashboard, this one is going to be a great choice. You can take 1 wire, place it in one side, another wire and place it in the other side, and then you can solder those also. Now this is also going to be limited as far as its articulation, and it is really designed to only solder 1 wire at a time. However, it does have space on either side of this clamp to hold another wire in place if need be. Now you do want to keep in mind also with this version, it does not have any articulation with those clamps, meaning that everything that has to be soldered needs to fit in between each of them. You can't move it around, and you cannot hold any large circuit boards, for example. So where this would work underneath a dashboard, it would not work for most soldering applications. The materials you'll need to complete this project will be very minor as well as very cheap, and I kept this as simple as I could. The first thing you'll need are 4 different flexible pipe hoses like this. I'll have a link in the description where you can pick these up. And you do want to keep in mind that one side is going to have a threaded fitting that we're going to thread into the base. The other side is where we're going to attach our alligator clips. You'll need 4 different standard alligator clips. These are spring-loaded and will work like any other ones. However, they don't have any wires sticking out the end. And I'll also put a link for these in the description. Finally, you will need to go to your local hardware store, maybe your Lowe's or your Home Depot. You can pick up an electrical box as well as an electrical plate. It doesn't have any holes in it, and it's meant to just seal this completely off. This is going to be the base that we drill into, and we attach those flexible pipe hoses. And then the entire base, because it is fairly wide and it is metal, even if you drop hot solder onto this, it's not going to hurt anything. And it really should last you for a long time. The tools you'll need will be a drill, a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of safety glasses, a pair of pliers, a permanent marker, a tap wrench, a 1/2 inch -20 tap, and then the drill bit that will drill the hole in order for the tap to actually make threads. Now keep in mind that the drill bit is going to be slightly smaller than the tap, because if we use a 1/2 inch drill bit and then try to use a 1/2 inch tap, there won't be any material left to cut away, creating those threads. So the drill bit is always going to be slightly smaller. The first step will be to mark the locations of each of the 4 holes that we need to drill on the top of the base plate. So if we just go ahead and slide this on the bottom portion of the box, you can notice that it overhangs on a lip the entire way around. So you don't want to mark a location all the way against the edge, meaning that it would be a 1/2 inch barely touching the edge, because that would overlap and the threads on the bottom of the arm would touch that outer lip, meaning that the top just would not fit and you would be wasting your time. So what we'll then do is go ahead and just mark it roughly about a 1/2 inch inward. We'll go ahead and put a mark on each of the 4 points going around, and then we can go ahead and clamp this in the vise to drill the 4 holes. Now that we've drilled all 4 holes in the base plate, we need to use our tap in order to tap each hole to add threads. Now you'll want to match this up with whatever the thread pitch is on the bottom of your little flexible arm, and mine is 1/2 inch -20. So that's the size tap that I have, and we'll go ahead and tap each hole now. Before we can actually install the arms in that threaded plate, we need to remove these small little orange caps off the end of the hose. This is going to be the blow nozzle. However, our alligator clips will not slide into that. If we just take the orange cap and pop it off the end, now we can take that same exact alligator clip that has the little plastic bushing on it. We can line that up with the end of the hole. It's going to slide right in place, and it's going to press fit, allowing us to have an articulating arm with an alligator clip on the end. We'll repeat this with the other 3, and then we can thread those in the base plate. Now that the threaded portion is going to align with the threads that we cut into that base plate, we can go ahead and install all 4 of these now. And then in order to bottom them all out, we will need to use our pliers to tighten it down fully. And the final step is to remove the base plate from the vise. We'll go ahead and install that on the box bottom, and this is going to give us a very stable base. So we'll tighten down the screw in each corner, and now we'll have a metal box base. We'll have a metal base plate, so if any hot solder falls on it, it's not going to hurt anything. And most importantly, we have 4 flexible arms, all with alligator clips on the end. If you notice, I have them all standing straight up, but we can easily articulate these around in any position needed, and it makes a great way for holding multiple wires or multiple items in one location as you need to solder them. And just that quick, we can go ahead and solder these 4 different wires. Now this one has a good solder joint, as well as the very small one. They dry very quickly, and it's much better than a butt connector or even a little terminal connector. Now this is going to be a permanent fix. You could slide some heat shrink over this, make a permanent repair to this wire, and because the arms are so flexible, even if you have some very long wires or awkward positions, it's not going to be an issue. So now you've seen a very cheap and easy way that you can make your very own third hand that has 4 different articulating arms, it has a metal base plate, and the total cost of this unit was only 10 bucks. It took about 10 minutes to build, and if you look at a comparable unit online that looks almost identical to this, you will end up spending $50 for the exact same thing. Now keep in mind, it's a little bit larger than the one from Harbor Freight, but rather than having 2 different alligator clips that can't move very much, these have 4 different alligator clips on the end of 1 foot long articulating arms. They're going to hold everything in place. It makes it very easy to solder with. And really the only place that this would not excel would be the places where you would need something like the AST wire holder. This one does have that magnetic base, and if you are underneath of a dashboard, this would really excel because you could stick it to the side of the car, hold onto the wires, and you wouldn't have to deal with something very large like the one we built. But if you wanted to add a magnet on the bottom of this, you could easily do that. They have pre-drilled holes on the bottom of the box. You could find the correct size magnet, place it up against that, and then run a bolt through the middle, and you would have a magnetic box. Now most people of course would use this style in a workshop setting. The main drawback of using a metal box like I did is the fact that it could scratch a surface. And if that's a concern for you, you could easily take some duct tape or other kind of tape, line the bottom of this, so if you set it against a nice wood workbench, you wouldn't worry about scraping anything because the tape would be touching and not the bare metal on the bottom of the box. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.